Okay, so we've got red, blue, yellow on the palette, and we're mixing the colors in between. So we're going to get the purple, the orange, and the green in between those colors. So the red, blue, yellow are the primary colors that are in the corner, and then mixing them together, red and blue, we'll get purple, etc. Okay, so we're going to paint some white on the top 2/3 of the palette. Going to mix some peachy kind of color, red and yellow, and a lot of white. Getting a little bit more yellow, we blend that in, and remember to keep lots of white in there. I'm going to move around that triangle and to the other side where it's a bit yellowy green, and we're going to put that above the white, so we'll leave a bit of white in the middle. And then what we're going to do next is blend in between them both and kind of smudge it in so they blend pretty smoothly between the peachy yellow and the blue and the green. The next thing that we're going to do is get a little bit of red, blue, and yellow, and we're going to make a kind of greyish colour. We're going to use this colour pretty much throughout the whole painting. Now this grey colour, we're going to make it, you can see it's a combination of red, blue, and yellow mixed together, but it's mostly blue. And we're going to add white and make it lighter, so it's going to be darker down towards the front and then lighter up towards the horizon. Got to put in some lines going across waves. If you've got a flat brush, that's going to be handy. There's probably one in your, there is one actually in your Create Joy art pack. So these horizontal lines getting smaller and closer together towards the horizon, also a little bit fainter. And now we go back to the same original colors that we had, that peachy kind of color. We might mix in a little bit of white and a little bit of that gray color as well. And we're going to just dab that horizontally above and around the wave pattern we've made just to create some highlights. You'll notice there's a more highlight and shadow in the foreground, and everything's a little bit more faded in the background. So we're using some of the pale yellowy greens, the peachy kind of colors, and not everything with a lot of white and a little bit of that grey color. That grey color is called chromatic black or chromatic grey. It just means a color grey instead of black and white grey. So you get that when you mix red, blue, and yellow together. The primaries mixed together makes a kind of dirty, smudgy grey, but it's really handy. So now we're going to make a kind of a purple color, but with a bit of that grey in it as well. So it's not too vibrant, not too bright. And on the edge or the end of this sort of escarpment or island shape on the left hand side, we're going to add a bit of white as it goes away from us, so it looks like it fades off into the distance. If you live in the Illawarra, this sort of scene's pretty common. You can see the escarpment meeting the sea down towards the Sea Cliff Bridge. Pretty beautiful view. So now I'm just darkening the foreground colors, and I'm using that same grey color. But now what I'm going to do is, so we painted a wave last week, and I'm going to do basically that same idea, painting a big oval blob of light green mixed with blue and yellow, and a lot of white and a fair bit of yellow. And I'm making a shadow around it, down below it. That's the shadow of the wave under the sea. But the light bit represents the sunlight coming through the wave. And now I'm just blending it all together. Now remember, with acrylic paint, you've got to use a fair bit of paint to make it be able to be blended. And remember, with the lights, don't blend up into the light, blend away from the light into the dark. So it spreads the light into the dark bits, because it's actually pretty hard to paint light over dark. I've warmed this up a little bit with a bit of yellow now, so that makes it look a little bit more sunny, as if the sunlight's actually coming in and warming it up, shining through the wave. Now I need to make some highlights. Maybe this can be the foam or something around the wave, and a little bit of foam as the wave starts to just think about breaking here in the foreground. Also notice that there's a little bit of dark of the wave behind that white, and that helps that white to pop forward, because anything that's got sharp contrast, like a dark and a light, tends to pop forward a fair bit. When you've got contrast in the foreground, you notice the things in the background also start to fade away into the distance. So I'm following with little dabs here and there, basically the contour of the wave as it curls up and over, and then I'm cutting back into it, putting a bit of that deep shadow in it, to give it a bit more dimension and a bit more contrast in the foreground. So contrast in the foreground, strong dark sunlights, and soft, like less contrast in the background and more fuzzy in the background is the general idea. It gives you a sense of space in the picture. Then I'm just working back to a bit more soft blending. So those little dark blobs I put in, I'm blending them back in, trying to not blend it up into that light though, because you're going to lose that the highlight of the sun coming into the wave. So that's you could have stopped at any point up to now, even before painting the wave would be okay. Just with the little waves. But if you want to keep going, we can also add maybe a little bit of sunlight sparkling across the water, just a dot of white. You might even want to pop in a touch of the peachy color or something like that. Just bring it forward. Don't overdo it, just tiny little dabs and just build it up. And that's basically it. So that's your beach scene. I hope you've enjoyed making this lesson. You can always go on and extend it a little bit more if you want, bringing some blues into the foreground, making it nice and cool, playing with the foam idea, creating a few foam patterns and whatnot. Try to get the idea of the splashing, use the random patterns of the brush. It's going to take a fair bit of building it up with blues and violets, and then cutting it back with, or cutting back into those shapes with these dark greens, and just redefining the foam because it's quite a fine lacy type of a pattern. But even if you don't paint the foreground wave, like I said, and you just go as far as painting the sea before up to the bit where we paint the wave, it's quite enjoyable and satisfying. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the lesson, and we'll hopefully see you again next week. If you feel like posting it online, let me know, and I'd love to see what you've done. Thanks a lot for joining today. Art Piece Projects, and create joy.